Whether you're just starting a new job or you're counting down to retirement, you may be wondering, how much money should I be putting in savings? Mikey Mangum is Senior Vice President with Inspire Financial Group here in Tulsa. He joins us this morning. Great to see you. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much.
I tell young people all the time when they first start their job and they have these planning meetings, start saving early because it can make a difference. But you're always so reticent. You're like, I don't know, that's money I need right now.
Sure. Yeah, and I think one of the big things is you're counting the cost now versus thinking through what is that going to do for me, even if it's 25, 50 bucks a paycheck 20, 30 years down the road. But what we know is the power of compounding comes when we start early, and it really starts to stack up in those later years. So I would just encourage any young people out there, if you have a retirement plan through work, especially one that's matched by the employer, and they're gonna throw in some extra quote-unquote free money, right, on top of that, take advantage as much as possible.
Let's kind of go through the different stages. So that's like a 20-year-old, 30-year-old. What if you're in your 40s? You've kind of been working for a while. Certainly if you haven't even started, is it too late?
Not too late at all. I've seen a lot of people that have been able to make up kind of in those later years. The nice thing is typically you're at a better income position, right? You've worked your way into maybe some leadership, you have tenure wherever you may be, so your income may be better. Also, depending on if you started a family and when you started a family, those kids may be leaving the nest now and you may be on the hook for a little bit less month to month. So never too late to start. We always say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Or second best is today, so get going today.
Now, what about those of us who are like in the starting early 60s, kind of looking at the end of what we're going to be donating to our plans?
Well, definitely continuing in that rhythm and practice of saving, because there's things that have changed, right, in recent years. Cost of long-term care, healthcare costs.
We're living longer.
Exactly, living longer. Inflation has been a little bit crazier in more recent years, so still that practice of saving. The consideration there is going to be how aggressive and open to risk am I going to be within my portfolio in those later years, because we want a little bit more of a conservation of capital approach as opposed to really trying to grow wealth in those later years.
I've heard some people, because of what's been happening with the stock market and that they're fearful, or maybe that they're pulling it completely out and going with something more radical, like buying up gold or just putting the money in the mattress.
Yeah, sure. And we're never opposed to diversifying your investments, right? I don't think all your eggs should be in one basket. Stock market is a basket, right? And you can diversify within the stock market, which is great, but there's no problem with holding other types of assets, right? Real estate, land, livestock, gold, different things like that. No problem whatsoever. I think, though, what people fail to realize is trying to time the market, pulling money out, putting money back in, can be really devastating to a plan. Pew Research actually came out with a study not too long ago that showed, on average, that individual that's trying to time market in and outs is going to end up with 2 to 3% less overall long-term performance. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but you compound that over 20, 30 years, that could have a huge impact on your long-term wealth.
There are some savings rules of thumb, is what you call them, and I think, tell us about that.
Yeah, so within our world, a lot of times we talk about world-class saving. And I'll kind of give you a little bit of background and context on that. If you look kind of in the 70s, the average American household was saving about 13% of their gross income. Now, this is in a time where I believe roughly 3/4 of the population also had access to a pension. So this was money that companies were putting back that they didn't have to worry about. So that money's going back, they're saving 13%. You fast forward to today, it's well under 10% of people have access to a pension, but the average savings rate is below 2%.
Wow.
So work towards that. There's going to be seasons, right? I have 2 young kids at home, so 15 to 20% can feel a little lofty with daycare and a mortgage and all those things. But if people can do that on average consistently through their career, then even with a conservative rate of return on their money, they typically don't have to see a drop-off in their quality of life in retirement. And that's what we're after, right? We don't want people to retire and then all of a sudden feel like oh, I have to go do
back
this
to, yeah,
because I
to
need
save
the
some
money. Yeah.
I've got to wrap, but I also want to
Yeah.
ask about liquidity in terms of the money that I should be putting back. If something were to happen in my job,
Yes.
what should I have available at a moment's notice?
Typically 2 to 6 months worth of your expenses, somewhere you can access it
Right.
without a lot of penalties
Right.
and fees. Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I remember sitting through so many financial meetings about 401ks. Do not take those out. Those
Sure.
penalties can be
Oh, yeah.
astronomical, the taxes and all of that. And it's really,
Absolutely.
so, you know, just put that away, close your eyes,
Yeah.
know it's there.
Yeah,
And then
set it and forget it,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Great to see you.
Yes,
Thank
thanks
you
so
so
much
much
for
for
having me.
coming in. We appreciate it. All right, Dolly Parton bringing the joy of reading to Tulsa County after the break. How children can get a free book every month from the Imagination Library.